Over the years, there's been many, many different types of IC champions. Loads. Ever since Pat Patterson was the first one, all the way from Randy Savage, Mr. Perfect, Ultimate Warrior, to the modern day of The Miz and Gunther, etc., etc. So the question you ask yourself is this. Who is probably the best IC champion ever, or greatest, depending on which one you want to say. So this is a list, a compiled list that me and Doug Douglas over there from DA Wrestling has come up with. And we've decided to see top 10 who is the greatest, right? And who we agree would be the greatest. Now, obviously, there will be some controversy back and forth. I have who I might think, he might have he might think. Some of it is based on reigns, how many reigns. And some people there are just there. Or how long. Anyway.
I promise I'll make it compelling.
Very true. Anyway, this is DA Wrestling. I'm Andrew. That's Doug. This is the top IC champions in the WWE. Here we go. So, as we're saying, the IC championships there, the Workman's title, the Workhorse title. People like Seth Rollins have held it. RVD, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, future world champions have held this title. It's like a stepping stone title to get to the main title. Some people just skip that title, go right to it, and then come back to it later on in life. Namely, like people like Sheamus.
Cough, cough. Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns. Exactly. So, it does happen occasionally too. It's not always a stepping stone title, but it's a title that is mostly respected more than anybody else, any other title in the WWE, let alone in wrestling in general. So, that being said, going on, starting off with number 10. Who is, in your fact, is number 10 on your list for IC champs of all time?
Okay, so for me, I kind of broke this down to kind of the significance that their reign played in the title lineage, but also what it did for their career. So my number 10 was the Macho Man Randy Savage, who won the title in March of 1986 and lost the title at WrestleMania 3 in 1987.
Mm-hmm.
This was the longest reign until about 2 years later, and we'll get to who did that.
Mm-hmm.
But this was, especially back then, this was to see who belonged in the main event.
Okay.
Right? If you could handle the Intercontinental title back in the mid-late 80s, you know. But again, we'll get to the famously dumb one.
Mm-hmm.
Then obviously after 87, by 1988, Savage is WWF champion.
Which, yeah.
Right? And literally putting on killer matches nonstop, man. Like even the ones he had with Santana, like, and then he would do like fun like one-offs. I think he has one with like Dino Bravo that's really good. But yeah, so for me, and also Macho Man's one of my favorites ever. So yeah, that's why I put Macho at 10.
Number 10 on my list would be Mr. Perfect. Why Mr. Perfect? Maybe he should be higher on the list. Well, I put it at number 10 because there are a few people who had better reigns and longer reigns. But Mr. Perfect, in a famous interview by Roddy Piper stated that Mr. Perfect never needed the IC title. Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, made the IC title. When Kurt Hennig held that title, Mr. Perfect held that title, people watched what Kurt Hennig was going to do with it, right? He had matches with most famously Bret Hart, right? He had matches with, I believe it was, I think probably the Ultimate Warrior at one point. He had matches all over the card with everybody. Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, the Mountie, right? He is by far one of the greatest IC champions of all time, bar none.
He would be like 11 for me.
That's fair. Moving on to number 9. Now, number 9 for me, right, is hard to say. Now, a lot of people on this list, right? But if I had to go say number nine, I'm going to say probably, I'm going to go with Ravishing Rick Rude.
Oh,
Now, I say Ravishing Rick Rude. Why? Well, for several reasons. One, when I was a kid growing up, the IC title, before it became synonymous when I was a kid with the Honky Tonk Man, was Ravishing Rick Rude and his title reigns and his back and forth battles with the Ultimate Warrior over that IC title. Right? Eventually, Warrior ended up winning over time.
I'm gonna break your heart when I tell you that the Rick Rude stuff happened after Honky Tonk Man.
My mistake. No, that's right. Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead.
But either way, Ravishing Rick Rude to me was an IC champion, and he fought a lot of people on that. His titles, he had matches obviously with the Ultimate Warrior, Jake Roberts, and his lineage as well. To me, Ravishing Rick Rude should deserve to be number 9.
So for me, number 9 was actually Rob Van Dam. And the reason why I picked Rob Van Dam is coming out of the Attitude Era. I mean, obviously, business took a hit. That's well documented. And the IC title was even retired for a bit because of how irrelevant it had become during the Attitude Era.
Yes.
But when they revived it, I think one of the guys that kept it relevant was Rob Van Dam. And like he was having killer matches with Jeff Hardy, Eddie Guerrero. There's a very infamous ladder match on Monday Night Raw over the Intercontinental title between RVD and Eddie Guerrero.
Yep.
But even the up and coming talent at the time, when you look at your Shelton Benjamins and Randy Orton, who ended one of RVD's title reigns, but RVD kept that title relevant in a time where her business was down.
We're so to say yes.
Yeah, but actually, it's. I like how you're doing this because that brings me to number 8, which is the Honky Tonk Man.
All right.
So, personally, I fucking hate the Honky Tonk Man.
Yeah, he wasn't the greatest
But,
guy. He was. I mean, he was considered one of the best villains of all time. But other than that, he was annoying as hell.
but I will give him his due.
Yeah.
He held the title from 87 until SummerSlam of 88. He beat Ricky Steamboat in, I believe, the spring of 87, and then held it until SummerSlam 88, where the Warrior came in and squashed him in like 15 seconds or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Which we were talking about how back then, like if you could hang in the Intercontinental title picture, like you're probably going to be world champion. Honky Tonk was like probably the first example of a guy that did something historical with the Intercontinental title, but he never made it past that. After that, he kind of floundered. Then he wound up in a tag team with Great Valentine.
Shake, rattle, and roll.
Yeah, yeah. Or Rhythm and Blues, I believe, was the name.
Oh, that's right. No, Shake, rattle, and roll was his finisher.
Yeah. But but that was the dumb one. That was like you already had a guy in Savage who was established and stuff like that. Like he was the face of that title up to that point.
Yeah.
And especially with the classic he had just put on earlier that year with Steamboat, which I don't care. You can argue with the wall. That match still holds up.
It's considered one of the best matches. Well, most people consider that match one of the best matches of all time.
In WrestleMania history, there's so many matches that have happened since then that have surpassed that. But yeah, in WrestleMania history, for sure. But yeah, just for the reign itself, and it was able to keep his name relevant for like almost 40 years. I'll give Honky Tonk number 8. Who do you got at 8?
I'm gonna agree with you on number 8 there, Honky Tonk Man. I'm not gonna sit there and try to argue, debate, or any kind of things with Honky Tonk Man. He had a 454 day reign. At the time, the longest reign in the history of the WWE. Right? Fortunately, he got squashed by the Ultimate Warrior, who eventually held that title for it. Battled with the guy who I said number 9, Rick Rude, back and forth for quite a while. Eventually, leaving the Warrior to move to the world title picture.
Oh wait, you legit had Honky at 8?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Right.
Who do you got at
So,
7?
so we'll go with later. Listen, although it was only one reign, right? You can't deny the fact that Honky Tonk Man is considered one of the greatest characters in the history of WWE, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially through a standpoint of being the guy who looks closely to Elvis.
That was the whole gimmick, bro.
Yeah. Although the fact that they made Greg Van Hammer Valentine either dye his hair black or wear a stupid black wig, but they did come down to DDP's Pink
Pink.
Cadillac at WrestleMania 6 in Toronto, so that's kind of cool. Shout out to DDP, by the way. All right, number 7 on our list. Like, number 7 on the list to me is I'm gonna go with something a little older, right? We're gonna go Pedro Morales. A 617 combined reign, two-time reign, combined total of 617 days. Right? Obviously, he was one of the first few people to hold that IC title, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, he moved him towards. I believe he beat the world title first, then he had the IC title. One or the other. I can't remember which one it was
Yeah.
first.
No, you're
Right?
right.
Yeah.
He was
Right?
world champion in the 70s.
Also, I believe I'm correct. It was also the first Puerto Rican wrestler to ever hold the IC title. That's
Well,
significant
yeah,
alone.
he's the second ever champion. So,
Yeah,
or third ever champion,
yeah.
whatever. But yeah, he was the first
First Puerto Rican to ever hold the
ethnic
IC title.
one, I believe.
Yeah,
Anybody
and
that wasn't white, I suppose.
yeah, like there's very few people back in that time of age who held the title who were not white, right?
But like we were just saying, right? Like he had just finished being WWE champion
Yeah,
in the late 70s.
yeah,
He was trading back and forth with Backlund for a bit.
yeah, right.
Um, but
And Marquino
continue
Rouse, he's in the Hall of Fame, right?
for a
He's
reason.
for a reason. He is one of the
He was
stepping
an
stones.
important, yeah.
He is one of the most important people in the history of the. And you cannot mention that lineage of the IC title without mentioning someone like Pedro Morales, who, yes, 2 reigns of 617 days is not a shabby thing at
But that,
all.
but that was also coming off of a like 2.5 year reign with the WWF title,
Yeah.
right? So
So
like,
Pedro Morales, number 7. Kind of hard to argue number 7, right? But Pedro Morales, in my opinion, number 7, greatest IC champion of all time.
okay, so back to me.
Sure.
My number 7 is The Miz.
Ooh.
Now, he first won the title in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
He last held the Intercontinental title in 2018.
Okay.
But in that time frame, he accumulated the second most title reigns ever.
Third most.
Second most.
Third most title. Oh, you mean how many reigns he's had, or combined days
Yeah,
of reigns? Okay, yeah.
yeah.
It's the
How many
second
reigns
most.
he's
Okay,
had?
because combined total of reigns, the Miz is at 597 combined
Oh,
days.
yeah. And then it's Morales and then probably
And
Jericho.
no,
Oh, okay, whatever. You got the stats in front of you. I'm not going to argue.
yeah,
But listen, here's the thing. Here's where I'm going to give Miz his flowers because, like, yes, he's annoying. He can be kind of cringy,
mhm.
but dude can work. I mean, you put him in there with fucking anybody. He's with, especially with the IC title.
Mhm.
He's had that really great feud in 2018 with Dolph Ziggler.
He had a good feud with Roman Reigns too.
He had a good feud with Roman Reigns over the Intercontinental title. He, but you name the guy, he's battled against them for the Intercontinental title, right?
Yeah,
Um, So that's why I put Miz on the list, and also a little more modern flavor as
All
well.
right, no problem.
Uh,
All right, this is
so
number 6.
yeah, to continue this kind of pattern, number 6, I put the Ultimate Warrior.
Okay.
So you mentioned Rick Rude earlier.
Yeah.
Well, um, Warrior for me, it was like he kind of brought that title up to a next step by doing what he did with Hogan at Mania. Um, but also, like we've agreed, his matches with Rude
Yeah.
when he was Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah. He lost that reign. He lost his one. He had 2 reigns,
Yeah,
right? Total of 434 days total. But
his second reign.
he lost one of those reigns to Rick Rude.
Yeah, that was Rude ended his first reign. His second reign ended when he vacated the title after winning the world title.
Yes.
Um, but that was you were saying on the top of at the top of the show about how the IC title was a stepping stone,
Yep.
uh, especially early on, and Warrior is possibly the most famous example of that.
Yeah. Well, there's someone else I have at number 5 though. But yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, so number 5, or
Number
sorry,
6.
number
Number
6.
6 for me.
Yeah, 6 is also
Number 6 for me, I'm gonna put down on there. It's gonna be Razor Ramon, number
Warrior.
6. Why Razor Ramon, number 6? Real simple. 4 title reigns total, 437 days total combined as of reigns. And it gave us 2 of arguably the most let's say example let's say what's the word I want to look for here? Um two,
Influential.
two of the most influential matches, albeit to the same people, but 2 of the most influential ladder matches in the history of wrestling.
I knew that's
Right?
where you're going with it. Yeah,
WrestleMania 10, and I believe the other one was at SummerSlam. Was it SummerSlam?
SummerSlam '95.
Yes. Right. Both matches, both including Shawn Michaels, right, and Razor Ramon, obviously one apiece. They both won one apiece, right? It is hard to argue the fact that what Razor Ramon did, Scott Hall, despite all of his problems later on in life and whatever was going on at the time in his demons wise, you cannot argue the fact that the guy probably should have been a world champion more than once, but he took an IC title in the WWE to new lights, and he was the face of that IC title division for quite a while.
Yeah, I would say from '93 until he left in '96.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
arguably one of the most
I'll talk about.
most
I have
influential
Razor on my list,
characters,
but
one of the most influential characters in the history of the WWE. And he's not just with it's how he looked, the toothpick, the hey yo. Everyone likes to do it, right? His battles with 123 Kid, Shawn Michaels, times Razor Ramon, his battles with Bret Hart
don't forget Big Daddy Cool in there either.
and Big Daddy Cool Diesel, right? So, in my eyes, number 6 is a good spot for him. Some people might have him up high on the list. I have him at number 6 because there's a few guys here who I think are a little bit higher up than Razor Ramon.
Spoiler alert, I do.
Yeah, me too. So, moving on. Number 5. Now, I said number 5. I mentioned somebody earlier. Number 5 to me is The Miz. Number 5 on my list is The Miz. Why? Well, what's the halfway point? 2, right? We talked about stepping stones. The Miz went from an IC title to end up winning the world title, not once but twice, and a main eventing at WrestleMania, right? As the world champion against John Cena,
Mhm.
right? He has earned the respect, as much as he likes to say he hasn't earned the respect of people at WWE, he has.
Oh yeah,
8 title reigns, totaling 597 days total. It's a lot.
yeah, and you know what? Obviously, he's getting older, and I mean, I don't think you'll ever see him win the big one again, but I could see
No.
him I could see him tying Jericho's record.
Yeah, I can see him tying Jericho. I can see him tying Jericho
Hmm.
for sure. Uh,
So my number 5.
yep.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm just pulling up my notes. My number 5,
Mhm.
and this may be controversial. It may be a bit too low for some
Mhm.
people, but Bret Hart. And my note here is synonymous with the Intercontinental title. Um, to this day, when you talk about great Intercontinental champions, usually one of the first 3 names that come out of their mouth is Bret Hart. You briefly mentioned his match with Perfect
Yep.
at SummerSlam 91. Or sorry, I briefly mentioned that.
Yep.
But um, but also fast forward to WrestleMania the following year and Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
Uh, he never had like super long reigns,
No.
but Brett was kind of the second example of using that
Hmm.
to springboard into the main event
Yeah.
because, obviously, the matches with Perfect and Piper and, Diesel and Razor.
Hmm.
Um, and then that all leads up into the fall of '92 where he beats Ric Flair for
Yeah.
the WWF title, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So another guy that kind of established the title, but at the same time showed people what you can do after.
Yeah.
He's the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be for a reason.
Hmm.
But Bret Hart's my number 5.
All right. Number 4.
Number
Who's your number?
4, Chris Jericho.
Okay.
Um, there's a good stretch of time where if you put on a WrestleMania,
Yep.
Chris Jericho's in the Intercontinental title match in one of the first couple of matches of the show.
Very true.
Um, this dude was, I mean, obviously it's Chris Jericho. And when you talk about prime Chris Jericho, like 99 to probably 2010, and he wins the Intercontinental title a record 9 times.
That's a long time.
And you look at the guys he was able to work with over the Intercontinental title, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle, RVD, who I mentioned earlier,
Yep.
and then William Regal, Christian, and then you go towards the tail end of his IC title reigns. You got guys like Rey Mysterio.
Hmm.
Um, so for me, he's not the tippy top, but he's like the next 3 names I got are interchangeable with Chris Jericho.
Okay.
So
All right.
you're number 4.
My number 4. I had to think about this for a little bit here because I have my 3-2-1 set. So number 4, when you look at number people who are number 4 who did them, who did it good, it's really hard to pick a number 4 because it's kind of in that who do you want to go part? You know what I mean? So I'm gonna go probably The Rock.
That's a good choice because personally, I had Rock and Triple H
Yeah, that's kind of where like I
just
balance between
outside
both.
my top 10.
Yeah, that's kind of where I have point there. I put The Rock at number 4. Why? You just mentioned his name, Triple H. That those two battling for the IC title. The fact that The Rock battled for the IC title with Triple H, with Austin, two of the biggest names of that Attitude Era,
Mhm.
right? Both future world champions, both stepping stones titles for both, all three of those guys. But don't forget too, Austin threw the Rock's IC title into the river.
Yeah, very iconic moment. But I was
Right?
also going to say, like, give Savio Vega his due,
Yep.
and even Jeff Jarrett,
Yep.
um, working with The Rock back in '97.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I can definitely agree for The Rock being that high.
All right. Number 3,
Yep,
Bret Hart.
I'm
Now you
guessing for
mentioned
a lot of the same reasons I
a
said.
lot of the same reasons. Also, though, too, the one you didn't mention is the only time the IC title, if I'm correct, has main evented a show. Yes, it was in England. Yes, it was helped through Davey Boy Smith, but it's at Wembley Stadium. Bret Hart versus British Bulldog, arguably the one match that probably changed wrestling in England for everybody else.
You ready for my fact check?
Well, sure, go ahead.
It was the first time. It's not the only time.
Oh,
especially in modern days with all these B shows.
that's fair.
Um, and I mean, I mentioned the Miz earlier.
Yeah.
Him and Dolph Ziggler, No Mercy 2017.
Is it bigger than
That was the main.
SummerSlam?
That was the main event.
Was it bigger than SummerSlam though?
No, and that's where I'm gonna say, like, if you want to rephrase that to a major show, I'm with you.
We'll say first time ever at a major pay per view,
There you
not
go.
a B level pay per view. Right?
Yeah.
Brett took that title to heart, places that shit in. His matches with Piper, matches with Perfect, right? His match with Perfect, I remember happening too, was Stu and Helen Hart were both in the crowd at the time. It was in Anaheim, right?
SummerSlam '91,
That wasn't in Anaheim,
Jersey.
it's in Jersey,
Yeah.
right? That match alone was one of the best matches on the card, right?
That's like the only good match at SummerSlam
And to
91.
be honest with you, and I saw this in an interview recently, how and Brett said this to Ariel Hawani's interview with him. He goes, he sees now a lot of people, and he kind of referenced Hogan too, like nobody tries to be like Hulk Hogan. They try to be like and try to mimic what Bret Hart does or Shawn
Hmm.
Michaels does.
Hmm.
Nobody, and he's right. Bret Hart, you can
I seen that
argue,
clip.
yeah, you can argue, is one of the most influential wrestlers of all time.
I 100. You will not get an argument from me, buddy.
Right? You can like he is the most influential wrestler of all time. Right? When you look at the people
Mhm.
nowadays
Yeah.
too, Adam
Oh, yeah.
Cole,
What I was gonna say, you look at the style that people work now.
CM Punk.
That smaller guy style.
Uh,
Bret Hart changed the game.
he changed the game. Right? There's a reason why the WWE strapped that eventually the world title on him. It wasn't because he was the best on the mic. It wasn't because he was the biggest. Because he was the best wrestler at that time.
They also needed a smaller guy because Vince was fighting the steroid trial.
Yeah. Whether or not that's true or not, whatever is irrelevant. Right? The
I
guy
think there's some
literally
truth to it.
there probably maybe. But Bret Hart is considered the greatest of all time. He literally is the
Mhm.
best there is, the best there was ever. Because when people want to be, there's two people want to be like growing up, and they're wrestlers now. It's either Sean or Brett.
Pretty much.
The debate's never Hogan or Warrior or Hogan or Savage. It's Brett or Sean.
Savage was ahead of his time, dude.
Savage. It's almost like
Put Savage in today's um, today's style.
If I was gonna say Savage, I'd like to see Savage. If I want to see a match right now, Savage versus Rollins would be a nice one.
That'd be dope.
Yeah.
That'd be really good.
1980s, 85 to 88 Savage versus current Seth Rollins.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
That was my number
Uh,
3. Who's yours?
okay. My number 3, you mentioned him earlier, Razor Ramon.
Fair.
And here I put a bright spot in an otherwise very bad period for WWE.
Fair enough.
um, and I'm not even going to really piggyback off of what you said earlier about him. Like, I mean, he is a participant of 2 of the most influential matches of all time.
Yep.
But also, he carried himself, like presented himself on television like a champion.
Yeah.
He had aura, as the kids say.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I have him at 3. So my number 2 is Shawn Michaels.
Okay.
Jannetty, Bret Hart,
Mm-hmm.
Perfect,
Mm-hmm.
Flair, or no, not Flair, not yet, anyway. But we talked about Razor.
Yep.
Jarrett, and like these are all guys he worked with between 92 and 95, right before he jumps up into the world title picture.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then you're also looking at guys like Rick Martel,
Mm-hmm.
who he fought over the IC title with. Right. Like, so he was working with the best of his era.
Yeah.
And when, again, he's one of those guys that I think about when someone says Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah.
So that's why Shawn Michaels is my number 2.
All right, my number 2. You mentioned him already. Chris Jericho. Why? Chris Jericho, 9 title reigns total. There's been over 187 reigns complete over the WWE. Jericho has 9 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In his title reigns, he has faced guys like Chris Benoit. Said that. Cannot exclude that.
I literally just said it earlier.
I didn't pay attention. Right? Kurt Angle, right? Obviously the Big Show, right? William Regal at WrestleMania X7, right? He lost to Triple H in one of his reigns, the second reign. Like, there's a reason why Jericho right now is considered one of the GOATs in the wrestling. That's one of the reasons. And everything else that you said,
yeah,
is why Jericho's on my list at number 9. Number 1.
2.
No, what?
You said number 9. I said you mean number 2.
No, moving on to number 1.
Hey, let's say it at the same time. You ready?
That number 1 is a unanimous decision.
2, 3.
Before we go to number 1, though, honorable mentions.
You've already mentioned my honorable mentions. For me, it's like The Rock, Triple H,
Fair.
and Mr. Perfect.
Tito Santana, The Brock, Don Morocco, just to name a few.
And you can even throw Jeff Hardy in there too.
Throw Jeff Hardy, throw Jeff Jarrett in there. You throw Stone Cold Steve Austin in there.
Okay. On the count of 3, we're going to tell each other what our number 1 is.
It's unanimous on this one, folks.
1, 2, 3, Gunther.
Gunther. Why Gunther? He's had 1 reign. Yeah, he had 1 reign. A 666-day reign, the devil's number. But yes, it was the who's who of the current WWE wrestlers that he beat. Might we forget, right? And it's a who's who, right? Lest we forget the WrestleMania in Los Angeles when he just stacked Sheamus and McIntyre onto each other to pin McIntyre.
Roman Reigns style.
Roman Reigns style, right? He didn't lose till WrestleMania 41 when he lost to Sami Zayn. He beat the living hell out of everybody. You can argue that his WWE IC title reign is by far more dominant than his current world title reign.
That's been the discourse, though.
Yeah.
Right? That's been his discourse since SummerSlam.
Like,
And
who'd have thought changing the guy's name from Walter to Gunther would be better?
well, I mean that not word you know, notwithstanding, it's like when I look at Gunther's title reign between 2022 and last year at WrestleMania, this dude went through Ricochet.
Yeah.
He cleaned out pretty much the entire SmackDown roster, actually.
Yeah.
He cleaned out the entire SmackDown roster.
Mm-hmm.
And then moves over to Raw and cleans out the Raw roster.
Yeah.
Before finally getting beat by Sami Zayn, but that was Sami Zayn's second try at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Poor Sheamus
So,
never could beat Gunther. I mean, do you want to go? We can even go back to and say Clash the Castle, Drew versus sorry, not Clash the Castle, Sheamus versus Gunther at the IC title match, right?
yep.
IC title match, right? Going on there, and that was just a hell of a like arguably the best match on the entire um Clash of Castle match, other than the Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns match.
Oh, no. 100% Sheamus and Gunther. That is my second favorite match of 2023.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, 2022. But yeah, that's the thing though, is he will forever be synonymous with this title.
Yeah.
And the thing is like he just did it so dominantly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't want to get into kind of current stuff, but you kind of mentioned it too. It's like the biggest problem people have with this world title reign is like this dude was a killer literally last year.
Yeah.
And you were like looking forward to his matches. Now you couldn't really give a shit.
Yeah, I think they've kind of like I don't want to say they toned it down, but I don't think they did. But
No,
it's almost like they're
he's
forcing
cooled
the
off.
yeah. Well, I think it's also too they want people want to cheer Gunther, but the WWE just seem to want to have that, so they kind of just push it towards we're gonna do it this way.
Yeah, but again, I will forever look back at this run so fondly.
Yeah.
Um, because Gunther put on a Will Ospreay like year in 2023.
Sure did.
Like as Ospreay's having all these awesome matches all over the world in 23, Gunther's on TV every week having these fucking awesome matches.
True.
And Sheamus, Drew, Pete Dunne, fucking Ridge Holland.
Yeah.
It don't matter. It was Kofi Kingston, gave it his best. Chad Gable, they had a very awesome 3 matches.
They did.
And even the match he had with Sammy at WrestleMania last year when he lost it.
Yeah.
They made that feel important.
Yep.
I don't see that now with Gunther.
No.
But if he just ends up being an upper mid card guy the rest of his career, I think that's a good spot for him.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, anything else on Gunther?
Nope, that's pretty much all I got there. Folks, that's our list. That is our top 10, right? Slightly different. Lob's the
What's
same.
yours? Tell us in the comments.
Exactly. Let us know in the comments down below what you think is your best thing, right? Who, in your idea, is the best IC champion? It's really hard. It's debatable. Ours are very similar, just different places for the most part, and a few people here or there that are different. Right? By the way, you know we should never mention there? The model Rick Martel.
I mentioned Rick Bartel when I was talking about Shawn Michaels.
I wasn't paying attention again either. Anyway,
Man, you really got to pay attention.
anyway, this is DA Wrestling. Make sure you like, share, subscribe down below, guys. Right? I'm Andrew. This is Doug. Follow us on our socials. DA Wrestling, D Lions 1991, AMP 1982. Those are our X, as well as Podbean, Spotify, TikTok, DA Sports. Thanks, guys. There. Coming up next, some point, we got another one coming up soon. Don't know what it's going to be, though, but we'll figure it out soon. Have a good night, everybody. Enjoy. This is DA Wrestling, Top IC Champs.